their produce is still under the West. From the darkness of Gaza and its cold and perfect winter, from point to point to Yemen was targeted by the Israeli forces to confirm the food and medicines. And the whole world isn't able to save them. Greetings from Palestine, from the prison of the Palestinians in the prison of the occupation, prison, oppression, hunger, torture, and oppression. Greetings into Africa from Palestine, the land of Palestine that faces the colonized, settled program, accompanied by the terrorism of the colonizers. Greetings into Africa from the Holy Land, from the Aqsa Mosque and the churches of the documentary. And we are defending our lands, our people, our sacred holy, as we defend them for the sake of the nation against the colonization. Today, Israel is killing based on revenge.
وبعد 130 يوم من العدوان دمرت أكثر من 281,000 وحدة سكنية وبيت. إسرائيل تريد أن تستمر في الحرب إلى نهاية هذا العام ومع ما يرافق ذلك من دمار حتى يبقى رئيس وزرائها.
In order to keep its prime minister on the post, that they're not allowed to do that. And he never wished to listen to anyone, no from America to historic allies, not from Europe. Therefore, Israel should be dealt with the action deed, nor the political speeches, and to confront the colonization based on the international punishment. The United States of America and some of the European countries put a number of the settlers on the terrorist list. It is important, but mostly important, to boycott the product of the settlers, the settling and the settlers, and impose punishment against this country that respected the international and human law pretending and committing the vicious crimes against the Palestinian people. Greetings to Africa and the South Africa. Greetings to the North of Africa and East and West of and Middle of Africa. Africa that were liberated from colonization and now stepping up its along with its national dignity to the Renaissance, and to move to learning and to go in line with the world path and confronting literacy and diseases and wars. Africa that stood by its name and by all the free world, the state of South Africa, to hold Israel accountable before the International Just Court with the crime of the punishment, the collective genocide against the Palestinian people. And today Israel is held accountable before the whole world and the International Court as it is a crime, a criminal state. On the 17th of February, the International Just Court will listen before the 76 proceedings that Israel is illegal, and based on the General Assembly of the United Nations presented by Palestine. Last year, the Just the Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International that Israel is an apartheid state and Clinton state. Is it reasonable to be standing with Israel and its policies? The African Union was right when prevented Israel to be a sort of observer country in this union. It was right to prevent the Israeli representatives last year and were exiled in this hall. The African Union voice should be held high and requested in an immediate ceasefire and the aggression committed against the Palestinian people, in particularly in Gaza and today in Rafah, as well as the West Bank and Jerusalem. Your voices should be held high and heard as it was always to confront the colonization program executed by Israel in the Palestinian territories. Your voice should be held high and heard as it is always for the purpose of entering the human aid to the enclave. What's entering now it does not exceed 8% of the needs of Gaza. Should you have a voice held high and heard for the purpose of entering the water and electricity. Your voice should be held high for the purposes of the liberation of Palestine and its people and establishment of the Palestinian state, and should be acknowledged as a member in the United Nations after been as an observer more than 20 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, today there are political projects are debated as well as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And we are here, there are proposals by Spain and Europe that call upon international conference for peace and advocate the acknowledgement of the Palestinian state in a time that there is no partner in Israel, and there are American pursuits with talking about the two-state solution and the acknowledgement of the Palestinian state that we are welcoming, but we still need to come out of the plans and proposal to the deeds. Ladies and gentlemen, the peace process since Madrid conference has passed 33 years, and before we moving upon, there is a deterioration. The settlers are increased, the confiscations, plans, and the continuation of the isolated wall by Israel, as well as the genocide and the terrorism of the settlers. All this serves Israel policy that aims to destroy the two-state solution. Today, we cannot go back to negotiation to be continued for another 30 years. Today, it is requested from the whole world to recognize Israel on the borders of the 1967 and to adopt the UN General Assembly in attempt to end the hindered issues such as Jerusalem, refugees, borders, mortar and decolonization. So only this, the souls of the martyrs will be rest in peace, as well as the wounded will be healed, and the Palestinian prisoners will be liberated. Only by this, the peace will be applicable in Palestine and the Arab region and the whole world. To conclude, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I thank the African Union. Its stance with Palestine that hears the voice of right and liberation and hosting Palestine on the highest post in Africa. Long live Africa, as well as the African-Palestinian friendship, and thank you for your listening and attention. Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellencies, it is my pleasure to call upon
جمهورية البرازيل فخامة
the
الرئيس
President of Brazil, Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Primeiro,
أصحاب الفخامة،
Your
لقد
Excellencies,
شاركت في
I
العديد من
participated
المؤتمرات
in
والعديد
several
من
conferences
الزيارات.
and
أود أن أقول
conventions. I
لكم
made
جميعا
several visits. I wish to say to you all
أنني أتشرف
that I
بالفعل
am
أن أكون
honored
معكم هنا أشارك
indeed
في الدورة
to be
السابعة
with you and
والثلاثين
participating
للاتحاد
in the
الأفريقي.
37th edition of the African Union.
أحيي كل
I salute
الأعضاء
all the members.
معالي رئيس
Your
وزراء
Excellency,
إثيوبيا أقدم
Mr.
له
Prime Minister of
كل الشكر
Africa,
والتقدير
I
على
extend all
كرم
thanks and appreciation
حفاوة
for
الاستقبال وكرم
his
الضيافة.
kind reception and hospitality.
تشرفت بالاجتماع معه في
Honored
مكتبه،
to meet with
وأشكر
him.
أيضا
First, I
وأحيي
thank
كل
also
الرؤساء أصحاب الفخامة
to
الرؤساء
salute all the
وأصحاب
heads,
المعالي رؤساء
Your
الوزراء.
Excellencies, Prime
أقول لكم
Ministers,
إخواتي
I say to you, my
وإخواني،
dear brothers and sisters,
في بعض الأحيان نكون بعيدون عن بعضنا البعض، ولكن يجب أن تكون
we are
علاقتنا أقرب.
separated, but our relations should be as close as possible.
أعود الآن للمرة 21 لدولة أفريقية. الآن مرة أخرى أنا هنا كرئيس البرازيل لكي أتحدث أمام قادة الاتحاد الأفريقي. أتيت إلى هنا لكي أعيد التأكيد على أهمية الشراكة وعلاقات دولتنا وشعبنا مع هذه القارة الشقيقة. إن مشكلات أفريقيا لديها الكثير من نفس أوجه الشبه الذي يعاني منه أيضا شعب البرازيلي. الكثير من شعب البرازيل يعتبر نفسه من أصول أفريقية. نحن البرازيل وأفارقة علينا أن نصمم مسارنا نحن في النظام الدولي الحالي.
path alone in the current world order.
علينا أن نخلق إدارة عالمية جديدة قادرة على مواجهة تحديات عصرنا. وذلك للوصول إلى التنمية الزراعية والتصنيعية، فكل هذا جزء من السياسات العامة التي يجب أن يكون لدينا دور فيها. وبالطبع المحاولات لاستعادة النظام الدولي على أساس هذه الأيديولوجية بأن لا يكون هناك واقع لفلسطين، فهذا مكون لا يمكن أن نقبله.
exclude a Palestinian reality that cannot be applicable or that isn't applicable.
البريكس كشبكة قوية يمكن أن نستخدمها. بدون الدول النامية لن يكون من الممكن
possible
الوصول إلى النمو
to reach
والقضاء على انعدام المساواة
development and to
وتعزيز
eradicating the
الحريات.
inequality and fostering freedoms and liberations.
يجب أن نجلب الحلول
We should
للأزمات التي تؤثر على
bring
عالمنا.
solution
هذه
to
الأزمات
the
التي
Africa
تأتي
war,
بسبب
such a
نموذج
crisis that
يركز على
comes
تركيز
because
الثورة
of a model that
وبالطبع يؤثر
focuses
على
on a
الأقل
revolution
على
model
الأكثر فقرا
and impacts
والمهاجرين.
the more developed countries or the vulnerable countries in Africa.
التنمية لا يمكن
Development cannot
أن تكون ميزة للقليل
be
فقط.
a privilege for
مشروعات
the
اجتماعية
relatives
شاملة
only,
وقوية هي
but
فقط التي من
strong
شأنها أن
comprehensive
تبني
projects are
اجتماعات حرة
only that can
وديمقراطية وتتمتع
build
بالسيادة.
free
لن يكون هناك
society
استقرار
and
ولا
strong. There will be
ديمقراطية
no
مع
triple
وجود جوع
stability and
وبطالة.
democracy with the
حان
existence
الوقت
of
الآن
the hunger.
لاستعادة
It is a high time to
مبادئ
regain
قادتنا
the
الذين
principles
وصلوا
of
إلى
our
تحرير
leaders
الدول
who
الأفريقية من
they
الاستعمار.
reached to
اليوم
liberate the African continent from
يجب أن
colonization.
ندين
Today we
هذه
should
الهجمات
condemn
التي قامت
such
بها حماس
attacks
ضد المدنيين
made by
الإسرائيليين
Hamas
ونطالب
against the
بالإخراج الفوري عن
civilian
كافة
Israeli,
الرهناء.
and we are requesting
ونرفض
the release
أيضا
of all
ردة الفعل
hostages and
من
prisoners, and we
إسرائيل.
reject the response
الضحايا تقريبا
of
30,000 في غزة،
Israel
أغلبهم من
that
السيدات
led
والأطفال.
the victims
وبالطبع
of
النزوح
more than
الداخلي أكثر من
30,000
80%
of
من السكان
Palestinians, most
في
of
حل
them are from the
هذه الأزمة
children
سوف
and women.
سوف
This
يكون دائم فقط إذا
would be
تحركنا سريعا
lasting only
لخلق
if we
لإنشاء دولة
move
فلسطينية حرة تتمتع
possible to
بالسيادة
establish a free Palestine
كدولة كاملة العضوية
as a
بالأمم
full member
المتحدة.
of the United Nations, a full
يجب أن
sovereignty,
يكون هناك نظام لمجلس الأمن بالأمم المتحدة بالتمثيل
and
بالفعل
an order should
حقيقي
be
بدون دول
laid
تتمتع
out
بحق
by the
الفيتو.
United Nations, whereas only some people specifically enjoy the right of the veto for 2 years.
الآن حرب أوكرانيا
The war
أظهرت وكشفت
in
مجلس الأمن للأمم
Ukraine
المتحدة
have
بغض النظر عن كل هؤلاء الضحايا، ولكن نرى الآن حتى الآثار المدمرة فيما يخص الغذاء والأسمدة وإلى آخره التي أثرت على كل العالم. لن يكون هناك حل عسكري لهذا النزاع. حان الوقت الآن للسياسات والدبلوماسية لكي نطلع بدور السيد الممثل.
take their role. Ladies and gentlemen,
المليار و500 مليون شخص، فإن أفريقيا لديها إمكانات كثيرة وقوية للمستقبل. تود البرازيل أيضا أن تنمو بحاجة إلى أن نعمل سويا مع أفريقيا. إن الشعب البرازيلي يستعيد سيادته الاقتصادية والسياسية لكي تسمح لنا بأن نقف بطريقة
to work in a way that is historical. Now there is a democracy that is more comprehensive. We are
انتشلنا الملايين من الأشخاص من الفقر. فيما يخص التعليم والذي هو الموضوع العام في أفريقيا، فهذا هو مستقبل الجميع. تقريبا 250 طفل خارج الأنظمة التعليمية في البرازيل. نحن ننفذ نظام للمدارس يكون في بدوام كامل وقت كامل لتعليم الأطفال، وذلك لمساعدة الأطفال الفقراء، وتلك طريقة لتجنب التسريب من التعليم. نعزز أيضا عدد المنح التعليمية التي يتم تقديمها هذه الطلاب الأفارقة لكي يقوموا بدراسة معاهدنا التعليمية. نحن نضع برامج تعليمية ويمكن أن نضعها ونطورها مع أفريقيا على أساس البحث والخبراء من الجانبين. يمكن لأفريقيا أن تصبح بالفعل مستقلة فيما يخص إنتاج الغذاء وتقديم الطاقة النظيفة من مواردها المتجددة. نحن نتحدث عن 400 مليون
talking about 400 million hectares in more than 25 countries to enable Africa and to have an advantage in fighting hunger and producing alternative sources of energy such as the green energy. I wish to provide our partnership in the field of the healthcare. There are too many things we've learned with respect to the health studies that would enable us to booster the public health systems. We should work altogether with Africa Center to fight diseases and its prevention, as well as a developing country. We should have an objective in reaching or to have an access to reasonable and affordable medications, as well as the vaccines that we've seen their impacts in the COVID-19. We should look after also on the health, in our health and environmental system for our planet in order to prevent more than forests to be deteriorated and due to the climate change. What is in place isn't enough, to work efficiently to protect the biological diversity and the people that they are relying on such forces. It is possible for us to protect this all together with the African partners. Israel wish to develop and build a set of satellites to observe all the agricultural outcomes through which we could cooperate with the African units in sectors such as the agriculture, research, healthcare, education, environment, and science and technology, as well as the diplomatic representation in Addis Ababa, for example. We will be soon have Brazilian workers such as the governmental research of science, research and cooperation, and an ad hoc institution for research and agriculture, through which we can regain our potential to increase the cooperation of the African countries. Having the African units in the G20 would be vital, but still required a full membership in the G20. I've discovered something very interesting, when I visit several African countries. In order to host, I discovered a very exceptional things as follows. These things of the wealth as well as the poor people, I discovered that the African continent of 54 member states have and a short representation in organization the Olympic Games. We should work immediately to represent the developing countries in the multilateral gathering and institution in order to avoid new wars. These are institutions were established in the past that aren't updated yet. Therefore, we have a joint agenda that it isn't absolutely unacceptable to be in a world that generates millions of dollars. We have more than 700 million poor people. We are in the practice forming an coalition to provide the assistance for more than 60 African states. Very soon they are about to be corrupt. And there are problems and hinders in paying the debts, as well as the healthcare and education that would reflect the need of the financial institutions such as IMF and the International Pact. Sometimes there are putting hinders and complexities before such problems instead of trying to solve them out. Such policies should be changed in order to develop ports and roads, the wind energy, the solar energy, such a project that requires our joint effort to work in generating new technologies. The artificial intelligence shouldn't be only devoted for some and few corporations. They should disseminate this false information and the hatred speeches that would lead to the increase of the injustice and discrimination. We are working with the committee formed by the Secretary General of the G20. Therefore, we're trying to contribute to the best optimization of the artificial intelligence and to bring the whole south. Dear friends, I wish to conclude by saying there is no other south without the African unit, the African continent. In order to restore the historical relations with Brazil and the contribution of generating a new world that is having, just in order to overcome all the challenges and confront. And I say to our friends here in Africa from Brazil, it is always, Brazil is always looking forward. Brazil, for decades, used to look only at the United States and Europe. They never looked at the South American that turned their back and also looked at the African continent. Have decided that Brazil should be more adjacent to the African continent. Africa and Brazil have borders that divided the Atlantic Ocean. So it is a blessing from the Almighty God that should get benefit from. I've visited 20 times the African continent and I inaugurated 19 Brazilian embassies in the African continent and a plant in Mozambique. We provide technological and agricultural support, but I resume my post as a president. I came back here to provide the assistance of Brazil to the African continent. Brazil is going to provide everything, even though we do not have all the enough technological science that I claim that we have. Does not have the biggest strength in the whole world, but I wish to say here, by saying to you, we have everything available, and even if it's less or more, will be joined or participated with the African countries. And we have the same history, and we should take this all into consideration to the country.
Thank you. شكرا جزيلا.
Thanks very much,
معاليكم لهذه
Your
الكلمة.
Excellency, for this speech. And now,
أصحاب المعالي
Your
والمندوبين
Excellencies
الكرام
and the
يسرني أيما
kind
سرور
delegates,
أن
it
أدعو
gives me to call
فخامة
His
السيد
Excellency
فازالي عثمان رئيس
Mr.
جمهورية
Vali
اتحاد القمر
Rizwan,
ورئيس الاتحاد
the
الأفريقي
Prime Minister of the Comor
للتفضل
and
بإلقاء
the
كلمته.
President
شكرا.
of the African Union to kindly articulate his speech. Thank you.
معالي
Your Excellency,
رئيس وزراء إثيوبيا سيد الأنبياء أصحاب
Mr. Prime
السعادة
Minister of
السيدات
Ethiopia,
وأصحاب
Your
المعالي والفخامة والمعالي
Excellencies
والسيدات
and heads of state,
رؤساء الحكومات
ladies and gentlemen,
فخامة السيد لولا
Your
دا سيلفا
Excellency
رئيس
Mr. Lula da
البرازيل
Silva, the President of Brazil,
سيدي معالي
Your
وزراء رئيس
Excellency
وزراء
Mr. Prime
فلسطين
Minister of
الأخ العزيز
Palestine,
أبو الغيث
Secretary
الأمين
General
العام
Mr.
لجامعة
Abul
الدول العربية الإخوة والأخوات
Secretary General of the League of Arab States,
العزيز السيد موسى
dear
فقي
friend
رئيس
Mr. Musa
الاتحاد
Faqih, the
الأفريقي
President of
السيدات
the African
والسادة
Commission, ladies and
الوزراء
gentlemen,
والسفراء
ministers,
والرؤساء
ambassadors, heads
والضيوف
of states,
السيدات
distinguished
والسادة
guests,
السلام
ladies
عليكم
and gentlemen,
ورحمة
peace be
الله
upon you
وبركاته.
all.
اسمحوا لي
Allow
بداية
me in the outset
أن أعرب عن
to
الحزن
express my deep
لأن أقدم بالنيابة
sadness
عنكم
and to
وبالأساتذة
present on behalf
نفسي
of you and me my
تعازينا العزيزة إلى
condolences,
السلطات
my deepest condolences
وشعب
to the authorities and the
ناميبيا
peoples of
وأسرتنا
Namibia
الفقيد على
and
إثر
the
وفاة
family of the
شقيقنا
lost
الرئيس السابق
upon
حاجي
the
كوكو
loss of the President Happy Kumkumba,
والرئيس السابق
the former
لجمهورية
president of
إن
Namibia.
وفاته يشكل خسارة
His
كبيرة
loss is
لبلادي
a
ولمنظمتنا
great loss
القارية.
for our nations in Africa. And I see this opportunity to extend to you all the best wishes on the occasion of the new year of 2024, that I wish to be a year of happiness and good and prosperity. And I would also wish to thank the countries and governments of the African Unit. I thank them for their exerted arrangement to cooperate with the African Commission in order to have a successful this addition to the government and heads of state. And I wish also to extend my greetings to all the heads of state and presidents that working hardly to elevate the work of the Union. And also thank Mr. Faqih for his continued support to execute such a mission, which is a joint mission for the service of the African Horn. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, from this member, I've gained the trust from you to preside the organization and to pave the way for Namibia to shoulder its role before all the member states. Such cooperation alongside with such a mission, so we wish to lift up the pace of the lead of the organization regarding the local governance
إلى انتباه خاص
and
إلى
pay
النهوض
more concern
وتوطيد السلم
for
والأمن في قارتنا
establishing peace and
الأفريقية
security
العزيزة.
in our beloved
الاشتغال
African
الأمني
continent. Such
المشترك
security
كان
concerns
القائد لأعمالنا
was
في حلفاء
the
أفريقيا، لأنني كنت
the
على
main
قناعة
roles of
بأنه
our
يجب
executions,
إحلال السلم
but
في
as I
قارتنا
said
حتى يكون
before,
ذلك
that the peace
منطلقا
and security should be
لتحقيق
established in our
رؤيتنا
continent and
بحلول
to
عام 2023
launch from which
63
we can
من
launch
البناية
the
الأفريقية
renaissance
الموحدة
of this
والمزدهرة. وبهذا ففور
2060
تولي
to
المنصب
have a
لرئاسة هذه
united
المؤسسة
African
العمل
upon
الأول الذي
resuming
قمت به هو
my
المشاركة
post.
في
The first
الحوار
role
في
I
المستوى
made to participate in the
الذي
dialogue
نظمه
on a level
مجلس الأمن المتحد
organized by
برئاسة
the UN Security
أخضر
Council,
الشقيق
presided
موزمبيق في
by
شهر مارس
Mozambique in March
2023. واستراتيجيتنا
2023
كان ذلك لمكافحة
in order to
الإرهاب
confront
والتطرف العنيف.
terrorism,
وبهذه المناسبة
extremism. On this
دعوت
occasion,
إلى وضع آليات
we
لتمويل
wish
مستدامة ودائمة من
to
أجل
lay out a
عمليات
mechanism that
حفظ
is
السلام
sustainable
في
for the
القارة
thickness of
الأفريقية.
preserving
وفي
peace in
هذا
the African
السياق الخاص
context,
بسياسي وفيما يتعلق بالسودان البلد الزيخ،
taken
فإنني
into
نظمت عدة
example
لقاءات
in
مع
Sudan. I've
الجنرالين
I've
البرهان
organized
والقوات
many
ومختلف
meetings
الجهات
with Mr.
الفاعلة
Burhan and its
وشارك في
relevant
العديد
and
من
effective entities
التفعيل
participating in the war in order to
الحوار
move
من
them
أجل
forward in the
إسكات
path of
سلسلة
dialogue.
وبنفس
And in the same,
للحفاظ على
based on the
السلم
same well,
والاستقرار في غينيا، فإنني قمت بزيارة إلى
I made a
جزر
visit
كوناكري في شهر
to
الأخير،
Conakry
ومؤخرا
in the
قمت
last
بزيارة إلى
months,
الجابون
as well as in
لتشجيع
Gabon,
القادة
to
على
encourage a
تسريع
leader to
وتوجيه عملية الفترة
escalate
الانتقالية،
the
وذلك
transitional
بالعودة
period in order
إلى
to go back
النظام
to
الدستوري في
the
بلدانهم.
institutional
كما
order
إنني
in this
التقيت
country. I've also met
بوفود من منطقة
with
الساحل
delegations
وأرسلت
in
مبعوثين إلى مختلف بلدان هذه
different
المنطقة، وذلك للدعوة إلى السلم
regions
والوئام باسم
in order to
القارة
advocate
الأفريقية. وفيما
peace
يتعلق بالأزمة
in
في
the
شرق
African
جمهورية
continent.
الكونغو الديمقراطية،
East
فإنني بقيت على اتصال
in
مستمر
Democratic
ووثيق
Congo, I've made
مع
a
رئيس
close
جمهورية
communication with the
أنغولا وهو
president of
الوسيط
Angola,
المكلف من طرف
who is the
منظمتنا
mediator assigned from our
لشرف رئاسة
organization, and
القمة
therefore I
الرابعة
have the honor to
27 يونيو
preside the
2023 في
upcoming
نهوض بحضور
summit
المنظمات
by the presence of
الإقليمية
the regional
وبلدان
organizations
البحيرات
and
الكبرى،
the
وذلك
countries
من
of
أجل
the
إيجاد
Big
حل
Lakes
ملائم
in order to have an
لهذه
appropriate
الأزمة.
solution of such
وفي
crises.
بداية شهر فبراير
In the
الحالي
beginning of
بمناسبة القمة الرفيعة المستوى الائتلاف
February,
الأفريقي حول ليبيا، وهي قمة عقدت في
there was a
مناسبة
summit in
رئاسة
Libya, around
شقيقنا
on
ساسو
Libya,
نجسون
convened
رئيس
presided
اللجنة
by the
الرفيعة
president
المستوى،
of
فإنني
the
أكدت
high-level committee
الأهمية القصوى
that paid a
لإحلال
great
السلم
concern
في هذا
to
البلد
establish the peace
الكبير
in
في
this
أفريقيا،
great
حتى يمكن للشعب
country in Africa in
أن
order to
يعود
convince
ويستعيد
its
السلم
people to
والاستقرار
regain
والتنمية.
peace, stability, and development.
السلم في أفريقيا رهين بالسلم في
The
باقي الأحياء
peace
المحيطة.
in
بعض
Africa
الزملاء
is subject
الرؤساء الأفريقية
to
وأنا شخصيا
the
قمنا
more
بزيارة إلى
cooperation
أوكرانيا
with our
وروسيا في
presidents in
شهر
Africa, and
فبراير،
I'm also looking
وذلك
forward to have a
لتمهيد
visit
القصاوى
in
الأفريقية
Ukraine
لحل النزاع
and
بين
to be an
البلدين،
African
والتي هذا النزاع
mediator
الذي
to end the
تبعيته
conflict
آثار
between the
كبيرة
two
تؤثر
parties
بالجانب
there.
الاقتصادي للقارة الأفريقية. كما أنني من ناحية
As,
أخرى
from
من
the other
نيابة
hand,
بلدي
and on behalf of
بينت الشكوى التي تفضلت بها رئيس جمهورية
with
الكونغو
regards to the complaint
أفريقيا،
requested by the South
وذلك
Africa
لدى محكمة العدل الدولية،
and before
وذلك
the
للتأكيد
International
بالمذبحة
Justice
التي
Court
ترتكبها إسرائيل في
against
فلسطين.
catastrophe made by Israel, the international community cannot avoid the appalling deed and scenes that created chaos in Palestine. Therefore, I call upon our convention to contribute to put an end of the Palestinian suffering and to foster all the efforts that pursue the establishment of the Palestinian state to live side by side with Israel. Therefore, Mr. Prime Minister of the Palestine, the African Union is supporting Palestine for the purpose in order to have peace and security in Palestine.
جزيرة القمر وصلت إلى رعاية المنظمة ما لقد كان هذا من أجل تسريع بإنشاء
made in order to escalate by establishing the new free trade in Africa. In this framework, I need a debate before this country that never adopt or ratify this convention through sending convoys that enable the activate and escalate these actions in this process. If we succeeded to elevate the member state in a new initiative on trade from 7 to 31 states, efforts being made, results were achieved in the results of the ratification, as well as the president of the region made a visit to us in the last April, that it was an opportunity to discuss principles and activate the funds in ascending the African continent, as well as the private sector to participate effectively in this convention. Among the activities, I made several visits in order to increase investment, such as in the field of infrastructure and the reform of the financial system internationally. I wish also praise the great effort made by the President of the Development Bank that require applaud that he exerted all the efforts in order to bolster the development in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, upon presiding this union was an opportunity for the blue victory in this conflict. I've encouraged to optimize all the navigation data in Africa in order to have a comprehensive vision in the agenda for 2023 in the 10-year plan, which is the blue economy. And from this, I've called upon to organize a conference on the blue economy in June 2023, and the resolution was adopted that called upon to make a great work in attempt to contribute the cost state in the as well as the development program. This was taken into consideration in the conference of the climate change. And I wish to say that the 2023 was a very decisive year for the continent because the African voice was heard in all the international arenas and about Africa that we wish or that we are longing for. This includes that indicate that Africa is one of the effective roles of winning that made us that we are hopeful to continue requesting to have a permanent member in the United Nations. The collection on the international gathering has participated as a president of the African Union and the Islamic Conference of the Africa and the BRICS Convention as well as the 77G and the first conference of the African framework has exerted all the effort to defend the interests of the African continent. They participate in another conference was held in Berlin by the presence of several countries in Africa. I expressed our concern to increase investment, the national and foreign investment in Africa, and in order to create opportunities. Our participation in the last African between Africa and Italy was also in the same context, in the moment which to preside the G70, I encourage him to escalate, activate partnership for the infrastructure and the local investment. And from the other hand, I wish to point out that the African youth potential should be served and optimized. Therefore, we've launched an initiative of $1 billion for the small and medium enterprises. That is a dire need in order to develop Africa. From other perspectives, there is another concern to eliminate the impact of discrimination, and therefore there were consultations in Berlin among the African youth and ladies.
الرئيس رامافوسا في جنوب افريقيا المؤتمر الثالث حول الرجال حول الذكوريه الايجابيه للاتحاد الافريقي في شهر نوفمبر 2022 اصحاب المعالي والفخامه.
Your Excellencies, Heads of State, allow me to point out that Africa should work to have its voice being heard in the framework of reforming the system of financing or fundraising development under the supervision of the G20. We should see this opportunity in joining in order to build coalition and alliance with the partners internationally that should be in line with the needs of our countries. In the moment I ended my honor, I see with full admiration and acknowledgement that I had the great honor personally and for my country in serving this organization. I wish to conclude by saying and extending a great thanks to the countries of the Eastern Africa that participated and helped me in presiding this edition. I wish also to thank the President of the African Unit. Due to their deeds, I wish also to express my deep appreciation to all the partners from our countries that provide invaluable support of different futures in order to pursue my or in executing my missions. In particularly the members of state and the divan members in Al-Qumr, and lastly I wish to extend my thanks and congratulations to my brothers, the President of the Islamic Mauritania, for their works and missions in order to, or that is serving our country, our continent. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. شكرا صاحب الفخامة على هذه الكلمة. سوف يتم الإعلان عن هيئة المكتب الجديد
formation of the conference, and I call upon Ambassador Yusuf Mandur, the Ambassador of Jazr al-Qamar, to come up to the podium to announce the new formation of the office. Your Excellency, the President of Jazr al-Qamar Union and the President of the African Union, Your Excellencies, Heads of States and Governments of the African Union, Your Excellency, Mr. Prime Minister of Republic of Ethiopia, Your Excellency, Mr. Prime Minister of Palestine, and His Excellency, Mr. Secretary General of the League of Arab States, Your Excellency, Mr. Shaqi Mohammed, the President of the African Commission, Your Excellency, Prime Ministers and Ambassadors, Your Excellency, the President of Republic Brazil, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, Ministers of the African Unity, Mr. Delegates, peace be upon you all. It is a great honor to announce before you the new formation of the office for the year of 2024. And it's in the 26th article that forms as follows. The President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania and the First Deputy Minister of the President of the Republic of Angola, and the second Vice President from Congo, and the third deputy
جمهورية غانا
from Ghana,
المقرر
and the rapporteur
مكتب المؤتمر
of the whole of from the Cultural Common Union.
هكذا أصحاب الفخامة هذه هي تشكيلة
Your Excellency, this is the new formation of the office before you of 2024 to the African Union Convention, and thank you.
شكرا سيد السفير
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador,
على إعلانكم
for your
وأتشرف من
announcement, and I have the honor to call His Excellency
الرئيس غزالي عثماني
President Ghazali Osmani, President of the Cultural Common Union,
إلقاء كلمة
to
تسليم المهام.
articulate his speech of handing over.
شكرا جزيلا سيدنا
Thanks very much, Mr.
اسمحوا لي
Director.
باسمكم جميعا
Allow me on behalf of you
أهنئ
to congratulate
صاحب الفخامة
His Excellency Muhammad
رئيس جمهورية
Mustafa
بريطانيا
Ghazwani, the President of Islamic
الجديدة التي أنيط بها على رأس
Republic
منظمة
Mauritania to preside his dues as the President of the new office, or the new formation of the office, as you've announced its formation, and it was conscious on the level of the
العمل معكم
northern
الأشهر 12
region
القادمة من أجل تحقيق
to work in the upcoming 12 months for the purpose of achieving our objectives
قوي في إفريقيا وهو موضوع
and to have a strong role in Africa. And hence, it is a great honor to hand over the mission to preside the African Union of 2024 to His Excellency Mr. Mizwani, the President of Islamic Republic of Mauritania, and I wish him all the success.
في تبوء
Your
مكان
Excellency.